Hey, I really like lit terms. I think we should make a YouTube channel documenting all of our favorite literary terms. Yeah! An image is a single comparison. To remember image, I think of I, a mage, conjure an image of eyes brighter than the sun. A critique is an essay or article that makes a critical examination of a work of art, usually literary, with a view to determine its nature and assess its value. For example, most of the articles we read for our research paper were critiques. Another example would be that...
Elizabeth, you need to speak with better diction.
Don't critique me, Liam.
Anaphora is one of the devices of repetition, in which the same expression, words, is repeated at the beginning of two or more lines, clauses, or sentences. An example of anaphora is...
You is kind, you is smart, you is important.
Just like how anaphora is the repetition of words at the beginning of each sentence, you can remember this term by thinking, anaphora is smart, anaphora is kind, and anaphora is important.
Apostrophe is the inversion of the normal, usual, or logical parts of a sentence. For example, Shakespeare in one of his poems says, "Sometime too hot the eye of heaven shines." An individual who would win the trophy for anastrophe would be Yoda.
When looking at the dark side, careful you must be.
Euphony is a passage that sounds pleasant or musical to the ear. An example is, "Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are." You can remember euphony because the hills are alive with the sound of euphony. Oh.
Alliteration is the repetition of initial syllable sounds. For instance, Peter Piper picked a peck of purple pickled peppers. Alliteration, you can remember that through the mnemonic device. Alliteration acts as an awesome auditory apparatus.
Synesthesia.
The experience of two or more modes of sensation when only one sense is being stimulated. An example of this is red pain, or as I like to remember it, as smooth jazz.
An allusion is a reference to a person, place, or event that's assumed to be well known. For example, Paradise Lost alludes to the Bible. I remember this in this way. The author made an allusion to the famous magician's illusion, Houdini!
Diction is the specific word choice in works of literature. Christina Rossetti uses diction to depict negative feelings towards the Goblin Men, such as, "One had a cat's face, a whisk tail, and tramped at a rat." You can remember this by thinking, diction is done with the choice of your words in the vocabulary.
A place is a repetition of a word with a root word with other words in between. You can remember this by associating the word place with place. An example of this is, "I will place you in second place."
Comedy. Comedy is used in Twelfth Night to evoke laughter from the audience. I remember comedy by thinking comet.
That is an example of bathos, when the writer overshoots his mark and it is no longer funny. Instead, it tumbles into ridiculousness. Bathos. It's like when you get in a bath and you feel it too much, and then the water spills out, and then you're like, bathos! Oh no.
Pathos is attributed to a scene or passage designed to evoke tenderness, pity, or sorrow from the audience. For example, when a dog dies and you cry in a movie. However, a good way to remember it is by using pathos, I can find the path to Liam's heart.
Intrigue. Intrigue is a scheme made up by a character that depends on the foolishness of the character whom the scheme is aimed towards. In Twelfth Night, Mariah fools Malvolio with the scheme, but the scheme only works because Malvolio is stupid enough to go along with it. I remember intrigue with the first four letters of the word, INTR. You remember it with ignorance, necessary, to ridicule.
Irony is the double vision of experience. An example of irony is this shirt. Irony, the opposite of wrinkly. Now, in order to remember irony, just remember me, ironing.
Dissonance is the mingling of discordant sounds. For example,
I see you and attack, and then I smash your skull and eat it as a snack.
you can remember this because
The hills are red
Sentimentalism is excessive or self-conscious overindulgence in emotions, similar to that of Malvolio, as he is so far in love with Olivia, he doesn't even understand that she will never be with him. Which brings me to my own romantic endeavors. Tori, I love you so much. Will you do the honor of being my wife? You ripped my heart out! I'll try again next week! Come back!
Controlling image is an image that's so thoroughly developed in a work that you can interpret the whole work in light of that image. For example, the picture of Dorian Gray controls the entire novel, just like this controlling image controls my life.
A paradox is a self-contradictory statement. An example of a paradox is the idea of Schrodinger's cat, which is both dead and alive. To remember the idea of paradox, I think of paradox, a pair of socks on my hands, which doesn't make any sense.
A perfect rhyme. Rhyme sounds that are exact, like the words name and game. It doesn't take much time to create a perfect rhyme.
a lyric is a short poem in which the speaker's thoughts and feelings are expressed. For example, in Rick's lyric,
Anthony, oh Anthony, your eyes shine brighter than the sun. You're such a fool, you little clown. I love your frown.
you can remember this by associating the word lyric with hear Rick, and remembering that you can hear Rick's emotions and feelings in the lyric.
Personification. Personification is when an inanimate object, animal, or idea is given human attributes. An example of this is the leaves danced in the wind. A way to remember this term personification is thinking of my dog dancing like a person.
A myth or a legend is a story, often used to explain things that are otherwise unexplainable. For example, if you anger Poseidon, that must explain why hurricanes happen. Because we can't explain El Nino, we're just gonna blame that on our dog friend, Nino.
Internal rhyme is a rhyme that's in between the lines. For example, once upon a midnight dreary, while I ponder weak and weary. A good way to remember internal rhyme is internal rhymes are in between the lines, just like this rapper, in between the signs.